You know, there's this invisible crisis unfolding right beneath our feet. It's not something you see on the news every day, but it's poisoning the very source of life for hundreds of millions of people in India. I'm talking about groundwater, and in this explainer, we're going to uncover its hidden and, frankly, devastating cost.
So, just to get a sense of the scale here, think about this number 600 million. That's how many people in India depend on groundwater for literally everything: drinking, cooking, farming. I mean, it's not just a resource, right? It's pretty much the nation's lifeline.
Okay, but here's where it gets really shocking. The 2024 Annual Groundwater Quality Report found that nearly one-fifth of this vital resource is dangerously contaminated. We're talking poisons like uranium, arsenic, and fluoride. So for millions, just taking a sip of water is basically a gamble, a life or death one.
So, what's the real world impact of all this? Well, first, let's talk about the economic cost. And honestly, it's a number that's kind of hard to even wrap your head around.
Get this, $80 billion. That's the estimated price tag of environmental damage in India every single year, mostly from polluted water and soil. And this isn't a one-time thing, it's this constant yearly economic wound.
And to put that into perspective for you, $80 billion, that's nearly 6% of the entire country's GDP. I mean, just imagine a 6% tax slapped on the whole economy year after year for something we could actually prevent. It's wild.
And look, that huge number, it isn't just about cleanup costs. It's about the millions of workdays people lose because they're sick. It's about real families, say in places like Masana, Gujarat, who are just drowning in medical debt trying to treat horrible conditions like fluorosis. And that's the long-term damage, right? It's this erosion of what we call human capital that just robs people of their future.
But honestly, that $80 billion figure, it doesn't even come close to telling the full story, because the deeper cost, the real cost, isn't measured in dollars at all. It's measured in human lives.
And here's the thing, this crisis, it's not an equal opportunity disaster. If you have money, you can sort of buy your way out of it, right? You get bottled water, you install fancy filtration systems. But for poorer families, there's just no escape. They're the ones who have to bear the full weight of this, the sickness, the debt, and the harm that comes from drinking poison day in and day out.
And what that does is it creates this vicious cycle, a poverty trap. You've got these insane medical bills that just bury families in debt. Then you have the children who are exposed to toxins like arsenic and fluoride, and they end up with long-term cognitive and developmental problems. I mean, their futures are limited before they even get a chance to start. It literally traps families in this cycle of sickness and poverty that can go on for generations.
Okay, so we've seen just how devastating the costs are. But you have to ask, where is all this poison even coming from? To figure out a solution, we've got to get to this source. And it turns out it's this vicious cycle of, well, unsustainable practices. So a huge piece of the puzzle here is over-extraction. In the big farming states like Punjab, they're pumping out groundwater at more than 1.5 times the sustainable rate. It just can't replenish that fast. So what happens? They have to drill deeper and deeper. And when they do that, they start tapping into these really old aquifers that are often just naturally loaded with nasty stuff like arsenic. And that's what kicks off this really destructive feedback loop. So first, the contaminated water they use for irrigation messes up the soil. Then, to get this same crop yield, farmers have to use way more chemical fertilizers. All those extra chemicals then just wash away and seep right back into the groundwater, making it even more polluted. So the very thing they're doing to try and fix the problem is actually making it so much worse.
And now, the consequences are starting to go global. See, international buyers have really strict safety standards. This puts India's massive $50 billion farm export industry at huge risk. All it takes is a few too many shipments getting rejected, and you could see global trust just evaporate, and that could seriously damage the economy.
Okay, I know this is a really complex and frankly alarming picture, but it's not hopeless. The good news is there is a clear path forward. So let's take a look at the blueprint for how we can actually solve this crisis. So it really boils down to 5 absolutely critical actions. First, real-time monitoring, so people actually know what's in their water. Second, way stronger enforcement to stop industrial and sewage pollution at the source. Third, we need to shift agricultural incentives. Promote things like organic farming and micro-irrigation. Fourth, bring in community-level water treatment plants, and finally, protect those exports by training farmers and having better quality control. Look, the bottom line is pretty simple. There's no magic wand here. A systemic crisis like this needs a systemic solution. That means a coordinated, science-driven national response. It's going to take everyone, government, industry, local communities, all working together. Because that's the only way to stop this hidden crisis before it turns into a full-blown national catastrophe. So that kind of leaves us with one final thought, right? When you've got hundreds of millions of lives and billions upon billions of dollars at stake every single year, the real question isn't if we can afford to act, it's how much longer can we possibly afford not to?